Hello, everyone. I am Leslie Horn Trossett, and I own LeslieHornMarketing.com. I am a social media content marketing and SEO strategist in the Albany, New York area. And today we're going to be talking about perfectionism. And my guest today is Dr. Barbara Patz. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on Dr. Patz so that you have an idea of where she's coming from and the amount of experience she has, which is going to be so vital in helping us to understand what perfectionism is and how we can overcome it. Dr. Barbara Patz is a licensed psychologist practicing in Del Mar, New York, in private practice for over 25 years. She earned her PhD in counseling psychology at The Ohio State University, and since then has worked in both inpatient and outpatient psychiatric settings. She has treated a wide range of patients of all ages. Currently, in her general practice, she is focusing on working with new mothers struggling with postpartum depression, anxiety, self-esteem, parenting, and the delicate balance of work and maintaining a family. So welcome, Dr. Patz.
Here.
It's great to have you here. And I just wanted to start off by saying that I run into perfectionism issues all the time with my clients. So what my role is for clients to do is to create content, because creating content on a regular basis helps increase the visibility for a business. So what that means is I may ask a client of mine to create some sort of either a written piece, like a blog post, or I may ask them to create a video, or I may ask them to go live, use Facebook Live, something like that. They could create something in the audio format, but there's a variety of ways to create it based on what makes them feel most comfortable. And doing that on a regular basis is what increases someone's online visibility so that they can start making money in their business. So I work a lot with solo entrepreneurs and mompreneurs and business owners in this way. And so what happens is we come up with a editorial calendar or content calendar, and I say, okay, can you commit to once a week creating some sort of content? And they say yes. And so then what happens is I say, okay, let's have it done by Friday, and I give them all the support that they need. So we talk about what their points are going to be, what the format will be, making sure they're clear on their message, what the heck they're even going to talk about. But then what happens is my clients start to struggle, and they sometimes miss deadlines. Now, I'm a content coach, and so I am supporting them in this effort. And so we're able to get it done, but the fear that they go through because of perfectionism oftentimes slows down the process a lot. And so when it slows down, it's affecting their growth of their business. So I thought, I want to try and help people overcome this. I believe that once we overcome perfectionism, we can really start to grow both personally and from a business perspective. So that's why I've invited you on. And so I just wanted to start with, where does perfectionism come from, and what do you think is the root of it all?
Well, I think that there are a number of roots. There's a number of places that people who struggle with this kind of thing get it from. Some of it can be biologically or genetic. They're hardwired to get anxious, to feel insecure, to have an anxiety disorder or an obsessive compulsive disorder, or something that will then present itself in stressful situations. Other people become like this because of external pressures. So growing up with parents who were very demanding, or going to school where the expectations were very high and the bar had to be met, then there can be a great deal of anxiety around their performance and doing it exactly in the right way. Society pressures us that particularly for women, but for everyone, there's pressure to say things perfect, to look perfect, to be thin enough, to be smart enough, to have the most business contacts, to have the most friends, whatever it may be. And then there are other people who have something like this because they've had an event happen to them. So that maybe they've been traumatized in some way. Maybe they have failed, so to speak, in a business or in an endeavor, and they're worried that, well, it happened once, it's going to happen again, and they freeze and they struggle with it. So there's a number of factors I think that can lead to something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, I've heard of a lot of people who grew up with parents, let's say, that had very high standards for them. And they just said, look, you either do this and do it right or do it my way. And they didn't feel like they felt like they were being stifled. And if they didn't, they were being disciplined or something. Like,
and those messages get internalized. So well after the time when your parents are telling you how to do things or judging you on things, that inner voice of the parent is like, well, a 95 is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You should have gotten a 99,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. With grades and stuff. Sure. So do you see this problem in your practice? And if so, like, what are some stories that you can tell of real life examples of how you're seeing it?
I see it quite a bit. I mean, I see it often mixed in with anxiety and low self-esteem, but I'll see it, for instance, so I work with a lot of first-time mothers who have new babies, and they come home and they have their baby and they're terrified they're going to mess it up. They're terrified. They don't know what to do. The baby cries. They're supposed to know, oh, is the baby hungry? Is the baby tired? They don't know. How am I going to get this baby to sleep? They feel like they're fumbling their way through it and feel insecure. And that can be very isolating. And then you throw in something like social media and Facebook, where everybody, only the good, only the happy, peaceful, beautiful times.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are struggling think that that's how everybody else is. And so it's very isolating. I'll also see it with people who are trying to make a change in their life. So maybe they're trying to, if they're home with their baby, they're trying to go back to work, or if they're trying to change jobs, or they're trying to get used to a new relationship. I mean, there can be a lot of ways where then the fear of being judged, or the fear of not being able to do it right, the insecurity or the self-consciousness trigger all those old messages of, I'm not good enough, I better not, I'm too scared. And then some of the behaviors that you talk about, they don't do what they need to do, or they procrastinate, or they mess things up, or avoid, or run away, all that stuff. So in my work, trying to help people recognize those things and deal differently maybe than they have in the past.
And that's a really good point about the social media aspect of, we have this certain view of how everybody else is doing it, and everybody else appears to have this perfect life. And in reality, we all know that they don't. But we judge ourselves and we think, well, why can't we do it like they are, or the way they seemingly are doing it? And there's a lot of, self-criticism, right?
Yes.
So the other thing was, the new moms and stuff. Now I have 4 kids, and they range from 14 to 22, and I still face that, and I'm not a new mom anymore. Now, a lot of it has gone away. And it's also, it's helped as, through the years of having the kids and going through these experiences and just being honest and saying, look, doing the best I can, but we kind of set ourselves up, don't we?
Yeah. Set ourselves up to feel like it's never going to be good enough, and looking around, and particularly in some communities where everybody seems to have success in one way or another, and then this inner sense of, I'm not going to be able to make it. So the anxiety or the perfectionism really paralyzes people and keeps them stuck, and that gets in the way of accomplishing the positive goals that they really want to get to and having fulfilling lives.
Yeah. And so that's my next question is, why is it important that we even try to overcome this? What are you seeing in your patient practice that is, where is it holding people back?
Well, the people that I see come to me because they're unhappy or they're struggling or they recognize that, wait, I don't want to be in this place. So it does interfere with quality of life. It interferes with relationships going well. It interferes with accomplishing goals, whether that's doing well in a course or making a relationship work or building a business. These are things that some of the work that I do is helping people try to take this stated goal that they have, this thing that does have meaning, that they have identified as important to them, and look at the things they get in the way of that happening, and to try to take the risks that they need to take that may mean they have to deal with feeling not perfect and feeling insecure or feeling self-conscious, but do take the risks anyway. Feel those feelings, be afraid, and do it anyway. Because otherwise they're going to be stuck in this, well, I want to get this done, but I'm not good enough, and not being able to go the places they want to go in their lives.
Yeah. So when I see it with my clients, I will, like for instance, Facebook Live is a really, really popular tool right now to increase your visibility on your Facebook page or profile. And so I'm encouraging people to use it. And so I have a Facebook Live training video that I have on my website. And then I introduce people into this 5-day challenge where it helps work out the kinks and it helps work out their anxiety and it helps them practice like the technical pieces as well as the practical pieces and what you're even going to talk about and what if your Wi-Fi goes out, whatever. So I think that is a very important piece because they feel comfortable doing it. So some people though are still, when they actually get to go on video, and it's assuming that video, I give a quiz, and if video ranks high for them, that's the way they like to create content, then I say, okay, let's work with video. And then I say, okay, you got to turn on your computer, on your camera, and we talked about what they're going to talk about and all that, and then they get paralyzed. And then so for the first time that I ever did Facebook Live to promote my business, it took me about a week to psych myself up for it. And it was a really big fear because I thought, what if I screw up? Am I going to be judged? People are going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. What if I stutter? What if I, get embarrassed? What if I forget what I was going to say? There's all these what if situations. And finally, I did it. I just did it. And it was so awesome after I did it. Was it perfect? No, it was not perfect, but I did it and I was able to move forward. So what I'm seeing is that when I can get a client to actually do it, which I do, we're breaking through things and it's fabulous. They feel empowered. I feel empowered that I've been able to help them. And the response that they get is always positive. And people love hearing from them. So I'm like, okay, well, this should be a breeze now. They should be over this hurdle. But it's not just one time. It's like practice. You got to keep doing it. And you have to kind of talk to yourself into it every time and have everything kind of planned out as to what you're doing. But it's just fascinating how I think a lot of it has to do with vulnerability. We're afraid to be vulnerable.
Well, and I think that taking the risks to put yourself out there, those are big things. I really like your approach in that you're helping people take baby steps and giving them lots of support and encouragement each step along the way and lots of practice. And I think that people working with you have a trusted guide that they can say, well, Leslie's not going to put me out somewhere where I can't make it,
No.
They can work through with you. You went through a whole list of what ifs. And one of the things that I do in my work with clients would be, let's just say, okay, what if that happens? So what will, and really walk it out. Well, what if the Wi-Fi goes out? What are we going to do? What if you start to stutter? What if you need to take a drink of water? How are you going to manage that? What if the person doesn't understand the first time you say it? Then how will you manage that? And it's never as horrible as you imagine.
Yes.
People are afraid sometimes, like public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people have. And, and when I talk to them, well, what are you worried about? What if I faint? And then I say, okay, so you're standing at the podium and you're giving the speech and all of a sudden everything goes black and you faint. Then what? Let's picture it. Well, I would be lying on the ground and people would rush over and they'd help me up. And I'd say, oh, well, sorry, take a drink of water and either end it because I'm sick or I would go on. It's not the end of the world. And so really the things that we're afraid of are not unmanageable.
Yes.
And it's only if we set it up so that if it has to be absolutely 100% perfect, that's unrealistic. And I think also making mistakes is a real opportunity to learn. And it's a real opportunity to step back and say, okay, well, why didn't that go well? And that's something that people in relationships learn a lot from, and probably in business too. If you have a business that
absolutely
you work on and you do what you think you're supposed to do, but somehow it just doesn't go the way you want it to, that's a really good opportunity to look at, okay, what could I have done differently? Or what was it that didn't work well? And then try to make those changes.
It's not like people come out of the gate and they're successful business people, right? That they stumble, they fall, they learn from their mistakes, and that's how they got better. And so that's really important. And I think starting from the beginning with just knowing right off the bat, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, we've got to tell ourselves it's not going to be perfect. And is that okay? Like,
have some compassion for ourselves. We're all nervous. Everybody has days where things just flop or don't go well, and to say that's okay. And rather than be hard on ourselves and be our worst critic, be our own best friend and give ourselves the compassion we need and the support and the encouragement and, pat ourselves on the back so that we keep going and one more step and try again and get out there. I think that can be really helpful.
And there's no doubt that as you keep doing it, like creating content and trying video out, that you realize that it is easier each time you do it. And you work through the little nuances, whether it's technical or whether it's the nerves, they get worked out, I'm finding with my clients. And again, the response too that they get when things go well, because they always do. And even if it doesn't, it's okay. People, I have found, definitely want you to be, that it's okay to be vulnerable, and that if you do make a mistake and you just fix it and you keep going, it's human. It's not like, because we're so used to these canned commercials and we hate them, right? That's why we want to skip by these commercials on TV or on the internet, whatever it is, before you get to watch a video. Your content will start in 3, 2, 1. And we just want to skip by that because it's so canned. But when we can be real and one-on-one and put down all those barriers, I think that's a lot more effective in whatever business we're in.
Yeah. And, I think that's a piece of that is being mindful, and mindfulness is something that I use in my practice, which is being able to be where you are in that moment without judging and with acceptance. Okay. And if you can accept that you're nervous, if you can accept that you're just...
Sorry, I've got a little, see, here's something going on. I've got the fire whistle. So sorry, is that picking up pretty? Okay, I'm going to mute myself. So you just keep talking.
All right. So to be able to be comfortable or accepting with yourself, and no matter what you're feeling, and to move on and to move with it, and know that whatever difficulty it is, it's going to pass. And I think, like Leslie was saying, if you get out there and you try something new and it works and you get good responses, which it seems like, Leslie, your clients do, then there's something else you can say to yourself when you feel, oh, no, I can't do this, I'm trapped. Say, no, 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 it worked before, just one step at a time with some compassion. And I think you're right, it does get easier.
So progress over perfection. That's what I always tell my clients. And you're talking about, mindset and being kind to ourselves. Are there things that you could teach us to say to ourselves before we're about to do, whether it's writing that blog piece or, just thinking about the judgment that may come? What are some nice things that we can kind of say to ourselves?
Well, I think the first thing is catch the negative stuff and counter it with a positive. So, it doesn't have to be perfect. Good enough is fine. Done is better than perfect, which I think is kind of what you were saying before.
Yeah.
But I can do this. I am in this business for a reason. I'm good at what I do. And then the other thing is, let's just get started one little bit and then pat yourself on the back for it and say, yeah, I wrote 3 words, or I did a sentence. Let me see if Leslie likes it. And then do 2 sentences and really pace yourself as much as you need to just do a little bit, feel good about that, and then keep moving.
Yeah, no, those are great points because what happens if you don't start taking those steps and moving forward is that I find that women especially, well, men too, and that's a good question. Do you see that are there more men or women that deal with this? I mean, I'm seeing it across the board.
I think it is both in men and women. I do think women societally tend to be more apt to be insecure and to feel like they can't make it. And I think particularly in the professional world, there's this need to measure up and to be as successful as everyone else. Whereas I think men do carry a certain amount of, they just grow up knowing that, hey, they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, that's tough for us women to have to face that. Men will never know what that's like. But going back to my last point, which was, that the women I'm seeing that I work with, and I work with men as well, but they get to this desperation phase because procrastination is a piece of it. And so because the perfectionism is standing in the way, they don't get it done. Then there's this desperation of, oh my God, I'm not making any money. Why is the money not coming in? Why didn't I sell any of my programs? Why didn't I sell any of my products? Whatever it is. And then they beat themselves up. And then the same cycle keeps repeating over and over. So I like to be, like I call myself a content coach, but an accountability partner where we say, okay, we're going to set a time frame. What is reasonable? You're going to take a little chunk of it at a time, and we'll set a date. And by Friday or whatever that date is, you're going to have that video ready to go. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for it to be perfect. So setting the expectations from the beginning.
Right. And setting small tasks, little chunks to do, and really trying to be positive about whatever gets done. And, I think the thing that you said about really getting so stuck that then nothing happens and then feeling bad about themselves and then staying stuck, it's a spiral that just brings people down. And, you see it a lot in people who are trying to maybe start an exercise program. What I would say to people is, just get your shoes on and get out there and do something for 10 minutes. And if you absolutely hate it or you can't do it anymore, then you can stop after 10 minutes, but you did something. Yeah. But if you're okay with it, keep going with it. And by and large, once you get started, people stick with it. They like it.
Yeah. You've got to create a habit and, doing it repetitively and just getting through it. So, all right. Well, this has all been awesome suggestions and kind of insight into where this all comes from. So if we were to summarize here, you start with understanding where it comes from, right? You look at the roots, you look at the history, maybe think about how your parents treated you, how your boss is treating you, how society is treating you, and how we internalize that, right?
Right. Right. You really try to understand what are the traps that you get into and where do they come from, and recognize them, so that at least you, if it comes up, you can say to yourself, ah, there it is. Okay. Now what do
Yeah,
I do about that? But
right.
you're catching it, and you're not instantly paralyzed by it. You have a little bit of distance. It's enough at arm's length that you can say, no, wait a minute, I have a choice here. I can go the way I've always gone, or I can try something new, even if it's a little bit scary. And then the positive self-talk, the small steps, the turning and looking to you, Leslie, for encouragement and as their trusted guide, and giving positive support every step of the way, because people are doing it for good reasons. They want to change. They want to make these things happen in their lives. They want their lives to be more fulfilling, or their businesses to be more successful, or to make a relationship work, or to whatever it is they're trying to work on.
Yeah. And if we allow perfectionism to stand in the way, like you said, we're not going to achieve our goals, and we're not going to be happy. And then that affects everything in our life, right? How we parent, our relationships with our spouses, our relationships in our jobs, all of that. So it is important to tackle this. And that's why I really wanted to bring you on as an expert. And just thank you so much, because I know you have 25 years experience, and I know you've dealt with this in this practice. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
So, Dr. Patz, how can people get a hold of you if they want to follow up and ask you some questions about your practice?
Well, I'd be glad to talk with anyone. I mean, the easiest way to reach me, I'm in the Albany, New York area, is to give me a phone call. My number's area code 518-439-0090, and I'm extension 4. I'm with Bethlehem Counseling Associates is my practice group. So that's bethlehemcounseling.com, and my email, I think you're going to, rather than me spell it out, you're going to have that somewhere on the...
Yeah, I'll put it in the description underneath the video. And but if this ends up, I think I'll end up doing this as a podcast. So I will, since some people will only get this as video. It is B as in Barbara, F as in fantastic, P as in perfection, A, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, PhD @gmail.com. So it's bfpatz@gmail.com. So again, I encourage you to really think about perfectionism, how it's getting in the way. I invite you to take my Facebook Live training class that I have pre-recorded, and I invite you into my closed Facebook group. It's a safe and secure environment where you can practice going live, and I give you very practical 5 days of challenges, so you can work out all those kinks, work out the fear and the anxiety, and then start really promoting your business online. And so there's more information about that at leslieHornmarketing.com. All right, Dr. Patz, this is a wrap up. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
You're welcome. Thank you.